Hi there, Justin Rockaw here again. This is another episode of Ask Heaston Church, Ask HC. So I've got a few questions that have kind of come up over the last few days or weeks, and so I want to take the next few episodes to maybe address a few of them. Today is going to be kind of a real simple one. A lot of times when we have people who are visiting the church for the first time, or maybe they've been coming for a while, one of the questions I get is, when do we celebrate communion? What do we do with communion? Now, that's a great question because we've recently changed that, at least the way that we do that. So with regard to communion, what the scripture tells us is there's two things that Jesus really left for his church to do, what we would call sacraments, or elements that we, ordinances might be another word. Baptism is one of them, and then communion. Some church traditions like to include foot washing in that. We don't necessarily include that. So baptism, water baptism as a public profession of your faith, and then communion as a way to remember Christ's death and then to look forward to his return. And so Jesus, on the night he was betrayed, he was having that dinner with his disciples, the Passover dinner, and as they were eating the bread and eating the cup, he said, this bread is now my body broken for you. This cup is now my blood spilled for you, the blood of the new covenant. And he said, as he would pass that around, as often as you do this, do it in remembrance of me. And then Paul addresses it in 1 Corinthians 11, where he tells the church, that had started to abuse it. He kind of corrects them, puts them back on a path, and then restates what Jesus said, as often as you do it, do it in remembrance of me. But we really don't have a place in the scriptures where it prescribes how often we should do that. And so throughout history, churches have addressed it different ways. Some churches have done it every Sunday. Obviously the main tradition that has done that traditionally is the Catholic Church, where they did it every Sunday. A lot of Protestant churches eventually adopted a once a month option, where they usually did on the first of the month. There are some Protestant churches, like say the Plymouth Brethren, where it is done every week, and usually it is a completely separate service. And then there are churches now, there's a resurgence of Protestant churches, a lot of them Reformed, and their theology, where they are doing them weekly now. A lot of times the Protestant church has gotten away from doing it weekly because of the abuse of it by the Catholic Church, or the perceived abuse of it by the Catholic Church. And so in order to not make something that is supposed to be held as sacred common, the Protestant church, a lot of them got to doing it once a month. And that's what Heaston has done for a while. When I got here, that's what we were doing the first of the month. And the reason we made that change, now we do it once a quarter, once every 3 months. And when we do it, we give the entire service over to that. And there's a few reasons for that. One, change is good sometimes, just to shake us out of habits and to make us think about what we're doing. So one of the reasons we made that shift was to just get out of a rhythm that maybe we weren't thinking about or engaging in too much when we did just a once a month. And so by taking it to do only once every 3 months and then giving the entire service to that, what I'm hoping that we're doing is elevating communion back to a level for some of us where maybe it had lost its place. I mean, after all, there's two things that Christ left for his church to practice, as ordinances: baptism and the Lord's Supper. And so when the Lord's Supper becomes something, or the risk of it becoming something that is just uncommonly or engaged in without thinking, we want to shake that up so that we are doing something that Christ left for us to do, and we're fully engaging our minds, our hearts in it, and it's not just take the bread, oh, that bread's sticking to my teeth, let me a little juice so I can wash that down, So that's kind of how we do it. We do it right now once every 3 months. The next one that's coming up is scheduled for November, the first weekend of November, and then we give the entire service to it. So the entire service is spent worshiping through music. I do a little bit of teaching on what that communion is all about, and a lot of times we'll just have stations set up in the church for people to come as they are prepared. Sometimes we've had people at those stations prepared to pray with people if that's something that they would want us to do. And so we'll stick with that for a while. I say that to say there's going to come a time where we'll shake that up again. Recently we did it in a different style, where we had everybody stay in their seats and we passed the elements down the rows, and we did it just as part of our service, and we had preaching still in the service. We're not opposed to doing any of those options, but what we do want to do when we do it is make sure it stays elevated. And that's why we do what we do with communion. So So if you've got other questions, send them in. You can send them to general@heastonchurch.com, general@heastonchurch.com. If you're watching this on Facebook, just post a question in the comments if you want to do that. If you're watching this on Twitter, post your question and then hashtag, for those of you who don't tweet much, that's a #, hashtag, and then AskHC. Hashtag AskHC with your questions, and then we'll get to them as we're able. Until next time, we'll see you. God bless. Bye.